Woo! Hey there, friends and family. Thank you for joining me tonight in a roundtable chat with special guest, the Dr. Lawana Grant, my publisher and authors coach, mentor, and friend. We will be engaging in a dynamic conversation on the writing process and my latest book, The Perfect Me for the Perfect Him. Listen, please feel free to share, tag someone you know. You don't want to miss it. It is sure to be a treat on tonight. If you still need a copy of my book or you would like to purchase for a friend, visit arielleward.com. You can see it on the screen below me, www.arielleward.com. It's a few easy clicks and you will be good to go. You'll need a copy of my book in your collection because after reading it, you'll discover that God will take your imperfections, your imperfect you, flaws and all, right where you are and perfect you for his glory, just like he did for me. All you need to do is say yes to God. Before you say yes to the dress or anything else that God has for you, say yes to him. I would you that you would put that in the chat. Say yes to God. Just say yes. Just say yes. Take this journey with me. So let's talk about it. Allow me to introduce you to a published author of 8 books. Yes, eight, 8 books. 8 books, amen. Just released book number 8, Leadership Recharge or Leadership E-Charge. She or Recharge or E-Charge. She'll correct me when she gets Leadership Recharge. She is the #1 author's coach of many. She's founder and CEO of Leadership Develop Me LLC. She's the creator of Female Leaders in Ministry Circle, aka we call it Flim Circle, which I am the privileged to be a part of. She is the first lady of Kingdom Builders International in Charlotte, North Carolina, where her husband is the Bishop Daryl Grant. He is the pastor. Amen. She is brilliant. She is educated. She is beautiful. My coach, my mentor, friend, and sister with global impact, the Dr. Lawana S. Grant. Let's clap our hands for her.
Hi, Arielle.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so happy that you would make time in your schedule to be a part of this book and this publication that you even helped me through as my mentor. So we're excited and we're at the table tonight just to hear what you have to say, to sit at your feet. Could you just tell us something fun, a fun fact about you, or even more as to some of the things I might have missed in your introduction? I believe you just published the book, Leadership, their latest book out of 8. This is your 8th
Yes,
book.
yes, yes. And you had it absolutely correct the first time. It
Okay.
is book number 8 is Leadership Recharge, a 30-day devotion for Christian leaders. And I'm really excited about it. It's on pre-order now, and our book signing is April 15th. But a fun fact, first of all, you did a wonderful job introducing me. Thank you. I was all teary. I'm like, whoa, you're going to put me on camera after that? So thank you so much. I love you dearly. I celebrate you. And I'm so excited about everything that God is doing in your life and through your family. And so let's see. A fun fact about me is that I absolutely love Mexican food. Mexican food makes me happy. I
Burrito,
love a good
taco.
taco. Yes, a good taco, a good burrito, some sour cream, guacamole, all of that good stuff. So Mexican food makes me happy.
Oh, yeah. Do you like Chipotle? Do you do Chipotle?
I
No,
don't.
you don't like that.
Last resort, I need a little bit more.
Right. I get it. Chipotle is not my favorite either, although a lot of people love Chipotle.
Right.
But yeah.
Yes.
So, Dr. Grant, tonight, I just wanted to get your. I know that you're busy and you have tons of inquiries lots of referrals and, clients who come to you who would want your help in writing their piece, their book. What was I know when I came and I was ready to because I've been a part of the Flim Circle for quite some time. It may have been during the pandemic when I signed up, like the beginning. And I always had the idea to write a book. I had it in my mind, but until I joined the Flim Circle, it inspired me to um, just that that idea, putting it into action. And I know because the Flim Circle is so many people are involved in it. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to pitch my idea. I'm going to pitch my book because there's this saying that during the Flip Circle we say, idea without
Uh-huh. You got vision.
no a dream no without an idea without a I can't remember it's just a good idea. um
Yes. I'll say
I
it
messed
for
that
you.
up.
Well, what it is vision without execution
There we
is
go.
reduced to a good idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It went so far with me, and
Mm,
I said I have to put my dream into action. I have to faith without works is dead. I gotta, this book that's inside of me, I want to get it out. And so
mhm,
I found enough courage to say, you know what, let me just share that I'm ready to write my book in the middle
mhm.
of this pandemic. So what made you say I'm gonna help the new author Arielle? Or um what was your I guess what made you accept the request
Mhm.
to help me with my first book, the perfect hymn for the perfect me for the perfect hymn.
So really, that's a really unfair question, Ariel, because you know that I absolutely love you, right? So
Oh,
before the book, so anything that Ariel would ask me, I would definitely do that within my strength and within my reach. But when you came to me and you said, I'm ready to write my book, what really impressed me was your willingness to be transparent and to
mm,
be very authentic with your audience, because in your book you reach back to experiences of your childhood. So often people want to write books just to say they have a book because they want to
right,
post it on social media, do whatever, right? But
right,
you really had not only purpose, not had,
right,
you have
right.
purpose behind your book, and what's behind your book is your heart. And so
Mm,
that's the thing that I totally appreciate about you releasing your message into the earth, because it was not self-seeking. You really wrote from your heart so that other women and men would
mm.
be impacted by the words that are nestled in your story. So that was very impressive to me as an author's coach.
Yes, ma'am. I have to tell you, you pulled some of it out of me during the process. And as I'm like trying to skip over it, and I guess, the question, I guess I could say, um, during the process of writing the book, I, it's funny because when I had the idea, like, okay, I want to write about my love story. And you were like, okay, to write about your love story, you got to go all the way back to the beginning, and all of the leading questions is what it really pulled it out of me, to write exactly as God had given me, without hiding, without just being Ariel. You helped me do that. You
Mhm,
helped me be who God called me to be, without hiding, without trying to be anybody else.
mhm,
And that's the part that really, all those probing questions, the process of how you package
mhm,
your coaching for
mhm,
others, writers, it really helps to bring out, the the uniqueness, I would say, of one story.
Yeah.
And so you did that for me. And I was just so excited, even thinking about, the conversation, the chat that we would have together, and what, and just sharing with others, like how I didn't do this by myself. God, I
Mhm.
I didn't get here on my own.
Mhm.
Yes, God gave me a story and he gave me an experience, but he also gave me divine mentorship.
Wow.
And I wanted the world to know that that divine mentorship came from a person that God had given me.
Mm.
God had he gave me you,
Wow.
to just pull out the best in me and the best in my story, both dark, my dark
Mhm.
the dark places that I've been, and in the, from the ground all the way up, and being,
Yeah.
not being, when you're realized, when, you begin to manifest,
Mhm.
and when the blessings of God begin to, really become obvious to other people.
Yeah.
um it's nothing compared to when somebody saw you when you were down, when you
Mm.
were in the dirt,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so you did that for me. You did that
Wow.
for me. And I'm so grateful that God has given me a mentor just like you. And I'm very selective, and even me, it takes a lot out of me to, trust, and that comes from my story,
Mhm.
and so I'm just glad that God connected us in
Yes.
a mentorship, that mentor mentee, and now I'm learning how to mentor others. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you, what part of the book, what part of the perfect me for the perfect him pulled on you the most? Like, I guess when I would write my chapters,
Mhm.
um what part of the book, I guess you could, yeah, what part of the book just really grabbed you, or you just felt like you were being pulled? It was.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I want to go back to say that I'm appreciative of God as well for the connection. And I wanted to share with your audience that the task of any good author's coach is to pull everything out of you, like you said. And so our job is to make sure that by the time you get to the end of your journey, that you're empty. And a question that a lot of people have when we're walking through this process is, oh, my book is 80 pages. Is that good enough? Oh, my book is 150 pages. Is that good enough? Right. And
Right.
so my
Yeah.
response every time is, are you finished talking?
Right.
Did you say everything? Right. And so I think that is just so key to anybody who's thinking about writing a book, is to make sure that when you're done, that you're empty. Now, of course, there's a whole process before that to make sure that your writing is systematic and thematic. And I think you're going to ask me that later, so I won't get into that, right? But it's the process
Yeah.
for your writing. But to your question, what really, really pulled on me? I mean, it's the concept of the perfect me for the perfect him. I mean, you would think
Yeah.
if you hear the title
Right.
that, yes, I have my book. You need yours too. If you're watching, go ahead and click that link and get it. Okay. And so when you read the title, one would assume that it's a woman being perfected for marriage, for a relationship, for success, right? And I don't want to ruin the end, but the him is not
Right.
the him
Right.
that you
Right.
expect it to be. And I think for me, that's the beautiful part of your story, because there are a lot of folks writing, and no shade, if you will, because that's
Right.
what God told you to write about. But there are a lot of people writing about how to prepare yourself for your best life, how to prepare yourself for your best career, right?
Right.
You are writing about how to prepare yourself and perfect yourself for him. And so if you don't have the book, you have to purchase the book so that you would know who she is referring to when she
Right.
says him.
Right.
And that is what really, really grabbed me. That grabbed
Yes,
me.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. When you were teaching me about the hidden message,
Mhm.
people pick it up and say, him's gotta be, and like I won't give it away, just like but him, is him, you
Yeah.
know, but you'll find that there's somebody else
Yes.
that gave me a seat, that the one that holds my secrets,
Mm.
right? That the one that holds my future, the
Mm.
one that knew who I was supposed to say yes to, right?
Yes. Mm.
The one that just knew me, and before I knew me.
Yes.
And the only way I can find me
Yes.
is to know him.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so you'll find, when you go through the book and you read through the book, you'll discover just how good he
Yeah.
he is.
And I want to say this too,
Mhm.
Arielle, because you do a great job of highlighting and illuminating the hymns with a lowercase h along your journey. There are a whole lot of hymns in your book, but you eventually get to the
Mhm.
ultimate hymn, and you take the readers on a journey
Right.
until you get to the altar.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
y'all. So you just got to read the book. Until you get to the altar. And that's a great approach to your story.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Greg, can you share with the audience how your editing process works? So,
Yeah.
how do you go through, leaf through, you know, just package your, I guess, package your product when you coach someone
Yeah.
else for their new book?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Mm.
after you're done with the writing process, what Arielle was saying about the writing, the probing, and making sure that you're empty, now you have this manuscript, right? And so we have to make sure that it's grammatically correct, that punctuations are what they should be, and sentence structure, etc. Um, I want to say too, to an author who's watching, is that when you get to the editing process, it's almost like writing your book again. And I want to say that because some people get frustrated, Arielle.
Some people.
Yeah, some people get frustrated when you get to the editing process because you're
Right.
like, I'm done
Right.
writing, right? You're not.
Oh,
And so what happens is, based on your word count, our team is able to give a quote to you based on your word count, and the editors go through. You will have several red marks when you
mm,
get it back. And once you receive it again, as the author, you have to take ownership and sit with your book again, read it line by line to make sure that it is exactly what you want to say. I always tell authors, do not rely on someone else to tell or change your story. Whatever is printed in this book, it's because this was Arielle's voice. Were there sentences that she said, nah, I don't agree with that? Absolutely. And so we would change it. And so it's really a volley experience, because you're reading what our editors recommended, which most of the time is good, but
right.
maybe you want to change a sentence. And so we give you a form to give that back to us. We'll change it, and we'll keep going back and forth until you have the manuscript that you want to speak to your audience. So yeah, the editing process, it sounds easy, but it's probably one of the most challenging steps
Right.
in publishing your book, because you have to take your time and you have to read it again and again and again and again
And
again.
again and again.
Did
Woo!
you experience that, Aria? Were you
Oh,
a
I
little?
experienced it. I experienced it. It's probably the longest
Mhm.
process, like a part of the process. It's the
Yeah.
longest part of the process, because you think you're finished, and it's like, what did you mean by this? Or, and then you, like you say, you don't want to change, because if someone else is reading the book, they perceive it differently. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say this. And so
Mhm.
you kind of go back and forth with, how you want that, written.
Yep.
And it's like, well, you know, and some of the time I won the battle.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, just leave it.
We did.
Some of the time I won the battle, sometimes I did. It's like, okay, yeah, you're right. It makes more sense to write it that way. You're right. You're right. You're right. So what is the common traps for aspiring writers? What are the
Mm,
common traps for
the
aspiring
common
writers?
trap. Here's the big one. Just write. Just
Mhm.
write. I have so many people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I've been writing. I just been writing everything down."
Right.
That is the biggest mistake that you can make as an author. Now, I'm not saying to jot down, focused thoughts about what you will write about, but to just sit as if you're journaling and writing a book. When you get to the end, you're going to find that you have so much more work to do. Why? Number one, you never thought about a book title. Never thought about a book title. Number two, you don't have a table of contents, which is your guide. So
Right.
any author that comes to LDM, I don't let you start writing until we decide what the title of your book is and what your chapters are going to be, because your chapters are going to make sure that you empty yourself out, right? And so the
Right.
biggest mistake that I see is that people just write. I like to explain it like this, Arielle. If you are
Okay.
writing a book about a hamburger, right?
Mhm.
So the title of your book needs to be the world's best hamburger, right?
Right.
So when you open the book, yeah, you may have had some good hot dogs, a burrito, or whatever it is, but you're not going to spend time and highlighting how good the burrito is. And you're talking about the world's best hamburger, right?
Right.
So
Right.
then in your hamburger, if that's the title of your book, your chapters should speak to every component of that hamburger. So you're going to have a
Right.
chapter on the meat. You're going to have a
Right.
chapter on the lettuce. You're going to have
Right.
a chapter on the tomatoes. So
Right.
everything is coming together, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so even with your book, that's why it's so, so unique, because yes, there is some suspense around who is the him, but all throughout your book, you're using the word perfected, perfecting, how your experiences were perfecting you. It's thematic. And again, the biggest mistake that I see is that authors just write and you have a lot of lofty words, but you're not connecting it for your
Right.
author. And
Right.
so that's just a caution too that I give. So that's
Right.
the biggest one.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I know you all are enjoying this out there. And when she says LDM, that's Leadership Develop Me,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is the which is her company, her publishing company, that she'll tell us more about later, so that she can give out her contact information and things like that. I love how you talked about, just the perfecting part, like the title, and I feel like it was very befitting, because a lot of people see, you judge a book by its cover, and you think that, and people, even, as I wrote the book, I had a lot of readers,
Mhm.
my audience, as it builds, they're saying, I just never thought that you went through what's in this book.
Mm.
I didn't think that, their perception of me changed, and they thought, yeah, Arielle is the perfect Patty.
Mhm.
Arielle never been through anything, you know. But you don't know unless somebody shares a story, or, and so it teaches us, even, judging a book by its cover, even the title itself, you're
Mhm.
drawn to it because you think that, oh yeah, the perfect Patty, let me see what this is about,
Mhm.
and so it changed their misconceptions, and they're just judging a book by its
Mhm.
cover, in that she's not as perfect as we thought.
Mhm.
I thought that things were perfect for her, like, but it's just the glory of God that was
Mhm.
revealed through the book. And
Yep.
so it's kudos to Dr. Grant, who has really helped me with that title,
Mhm.
in just kind of creating that hidden meaning, and
Mhm.
then capturing just the perfection in Christ that she sees even in me as her mentee. And so I really she really helped, like I said, pull that title out and to like really coach me on why this would be the perfect, like the perfect title for the perfect Patty who
Yeah.
wasn't so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
I
wasn't so
mean,
perfect.
Arielle, and I don't know if you want to share, it's on page 17 of your book.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love when you talk about your fifth grade experience.
Mhm.
And like you said, people look, because you're a beautiful person, you have a beautiful spirit, always happy, always encouraging other people and celebrating other people. You would never know that you had gone through bullying like when you were young, right? And
Mhm.
so I love when you say, I wanted to stay where I was because I was uncomfortable with being treated unfairly. Somehow I got used to the abuse and addicted to it. Then you go on to merge how the hymn helped you even with those experiences
Right.
early on and how it all ties
Connect.
together. So again,
Yeah.
I just love your transparency in the book because like you said, when people look at you, because you are your brand as an author, right?
Right.
They would never know what's nestled. And I just
Yes.
happen to know that, yeah, your book is, how many pages is your book? Your
About
book is 122 pages,
yep.
but I'm sure there's more to the story, but it's a good part of the story
Yes.
in here. So
Much more. There's much more. It's so funny. And it does. Yes, it does. It all connects.
Mhm,
And all of the decisions that I made throughout life and when I started dating, it
mhm.
the bullying, those insecurities, all of it played out when I was making those decisions,
Yep.
And so it did. And it was just like, and it just kept coming. It just kept coming until I said yes.
Yeah.
And so you'll find what else is in the book. It's hard to talk about it without sharing some of what's
I know, right?
it's really hard because it's really hard because and that happens with our young ladies, with our young men.
Mhm.
They have these traumatizing experiences in their childhood, and you go and you reach a level in your adulthood where you start making decisions,
Mhm.
right, about who to date, who to marry, what job to choose, what college to go to, just how you live out your relationships.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how damaged or how it affected us until we're
Mhm.
at a point where we're making major decisions. And it's like, why do I keep it just keeps on? It's like a circle of abuse. It's like you get used to being in toxicity and you're
Yeah.
like, what is this?
Mhm.
It just keeps attaching, or this toxicity just keeps finding itself to me. Like,
Mhm.
and so when I was writing it, during the process of writing the book and all the questions that you were asking, it just it pulled out of me. And I remember getting to a point in my book where I was sharing things that I'm like, am I ready yet? Am I ready yet? Should I
Mhm.
share this? Is this too much? And I remember you saying, Arielle, write until you're free.
Mhm.
Just write until you're free. And so I would write. I was writing. I was crying. I mean, I was getting
Mhm.
deliverance, just reading. Yeah, I'm just writing and reading, writing. Like, oh, some stuff I would literally type up because she gave me deadlines, y'all. I had deadlines for each chapter. You had to have this done by this date. Okay, email me by this date and it has to be done. So I would be like, it felt like college, like, okay, let me get this done, let me get this done. I would write out like my chapter and I go back on the date it's due, read over and say, no, I didn't want to say that, and erase it. It is so funny because she would know that I did like, and I it's nothing that she would know, like, what did you mean by this? Or are you finished writing this chapter? Like, are you finished writing this?
Yeah.
Because it just seems like something's missing.
Listen.
Something is missing, girl. And I'll be like, oh, she figured out something's missing. I was just like getting rid of stuff. No, girl, you go right until you are
You're
free.
free. And you know why?
And
Because when you're free, when I read your book, I become free.
yes,
You
ma'am.
know, so
Yes,
woo,
ma'am.
that's good. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's funny how many people come up to you and they read your piece and they say, man, I'm so glad you shared because
Mm,
this is what I've been dealing with. Can you pray for me?
mm,
And it presents the opportunity for others to heal,
yeah.
for others to be delivered and set free.
Yeah.
I know our generation, or in our generation, I guess generations before, like the older generation, they don't really like to share too much, and they kind of get a little bit nervous, and they don't like to share out some
Mhm.
of the things that really affected how they grew up.
Right.
But in our generation, they need you to connect with them in that place,
Mm,
because they just feel like, oh, you can't relate, or you don't understand what I'm going through. You ain't been through nothing. That's verbatim.
yep.
That's not proper English.
Right, right.
But that's exactly, how it comes off. But when you share, your story, and you're a person, you've been through things, you're human,
Mhm.
and I found that sharing just, the transparent pieces that I was going to leave out,
Mm.
that you told me, don't you're missing something. Something's missing.
Yeah.
You didn't say it like that. And that's what I love about her. She did not say you're missing. Like, she didn't say you're missing something. Are you finished with
Yeah,
this chapter?
that's
Are you finished? She knows that's how she. Are you finished? I'm like, oh, she knows I took something out.
are you finished?
I took something out. And I still to this day feels like Arielle didn't finish this chapter. Or Arielle didn't finish this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a sequel. Like, so you start thinking
Mm.
like, okay, well, maybe I'm ready to do more. Maybe I'm ready to do number two.
Uh-huh.
And so you start thinking like that. But I thank God for her coaching and her
Mm.
mentorship, that she would, you know, I deal with me in a way that just just pulled out the oil. She pulled out the
Mhm.
oil. I never forget. I shared with her like years ago. I remember, I'm a dreamer, and I talk about a lot about that in my book.
Mhm.
And I was always afraid, or I guess you would say, I guess fear would creep in, because I always think I was different, and I would dream things that I didn't understand. I didn't understand myself. Like, God gives you gifts, and you you just have it. And if you never ask God to show you, or mature you, or grow you, or spend time
Mhm.
around other people who may have a similar gift, you just don't mature in it, without proper mentorship, or just anybody teaching you, or recognizing the gift in you and appreciating the gift in you.
Yeah.
And so I had this dream, and I shared it with her. I think after, maybe during the coaching process, that I had a dream that she was looking for me in this dream, and she found me all the way back home. Like, I'm not home where when I married my husband, where I am now. It was in Maryland. In this dream that I had, this vision that God showed me, and I know it
Mhm.
was Him. He showed me Dr. Grant
Mm.
looking for me way back home in New
Mhm.
Jersey with my parents, like
Wow.
hiding
Mm.
in the house that I grew up in. I was just hiding. I
Mhm.
just didn't want to be found. And she did not stop knocking. She didn't
Mm.
stop knocking. And she just kept knocking on the door to my parents' house. And I'm like, why is she looking for me? I literally, in the dream, I sat there in the bathroom of my parents' house, and I heard her knocking, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't come out. I
Mm.
would not come out. And so I finally, when the knocking stopped and she went back to her car, I got up, I opened up the door, and I was like, okay, great, she's gone, right? And so I come out, I come down the lawn of my parents' house. It's like, maybe, I don't know, it takes a while before you get from the door to the street. So I walk down, And I was like acting like I was walking the other way, and the car that she was driving turns back around for me. I was like, oh no. She turns around in the car and just, and I kid you not, gets out of the car, pulls out a picture of just a photo. And I look at the photo, and she said to me, I'm looking for this young lady. I'm looking for her. Do you know where I can find her? And I'm like, in the photo, you can take a lucky guess. And I'm looking at myself in the photo. I'm like, that's my picture. Like, why are you trying to find me? No, I don't want to be found. I don't want to be found. And literally, she didn't, like, she turned around and she knew it was me. I'm looking for her. Where is she? And this whole, my book, just the process of writing it, just coming out for, so as you know, being Arielle, being, you know, totally me. She pulled that out of me, Dr. Gray. And that dream and the divine mentorship is so real. It's so real how God will send you people to help pull out of you what is there and find you where you are. Find you where you are. And so when I started out, even with this book, it found me. I started all the way back when I was a little girl, all the things that I've been through, the bullying, you know, the you know, just the misuse, the abuse, everything, the rejection, everything that I dealt with growing up as a pastor's daughter, you know, even at the time, my grandfather was the pastor, just different things that I dealt with, that I was just hiding behind all of the pain. And I just didn't want no bother, because every time I would be who God called me to be, I would just find myself in so much opposition until I was just like, I don't want it. I just want peace. I just want peace. I just want peace. And so it showed me, I said, God sent her, you know, and this dream that God sent, I had for, I think maybe a few years before. It was a few years. And I don't know if she remembers, you sent a book set that said, I Am Enough. It was another book you published by a different author. And you sent it home with my husband. And it was titled I Am Enough by, I can't remember who wrote that.
Chantel Biddings. She's one of our, she's one of our authors. She's an amazing counselor and therapist. Yes.
And around that time, it was around that time that God showed me in the dream that you were there, and you were pulling it out, and that's divine mentorship. So I thank God for you. I thank God for the divine connection that He has bestowed upon you and I will never ever forget. Like, you know, people get to a certain place in ministry, they get to a certain place in God, and then they forget, you know, about those who have helped them, you know, and those who have cultivated them. And I will never forget. This is just the beginning of what God has, you know, just given us, you know, to share in ministry together. And so I'm just excited. I know we talked a lot. Is there any questions out there before I may have a couple more and then we can end? You know, any questions out there? I don't know if I can see the let me see the I don't know if you can see the chat. There questions out there. But while we're waiting, I know you can put the question on the board if you have any. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure that others had a way to reach you, and if they're inspired to write their own book, to be a new author, how can writers reach you, and how can they get started with writing and becoming a new author and helping them like you've helped me?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The website is already on the screen. There it is, leadershipdevelopme.com. And you'll see the link there for write, package, and publish your book. I will say that there is a qualifying system. I am not biased, but I do work with a special group of authors. And I realize that I am not here for everyone, but I am here for the ones that God has ordained for us to publish. We don't just publish Christian books, we have authors across the board. In fact, without saying his name, we have a book that's coming out by a young man who is incarcerated, who has, found himself in prison, and he's sharing his story. He probably will be serving a life term. But I took that project because he still has something to say and to share with the world. So, nevertheless, you can definitely visit the website Leadership Develop Me. The me is mind and execution. So when you go to Leadership Develop Me, what you're saying is, Dr. Grant and team, please develop my mindset, because I got to condition my mind, right, to be an author, to be a coach, or whatever you desire to do. You have to condition your mind for that thing. And then once your mind is conditioned, the E is execution. We give you a strategy for execution, right? So you'll see all of that on the website. You can feel free to look at all of the details of what's included in your package. The pricing is on the website. I like to give people as much information as possible so that you can make a decision. And if you decide to move forward, then you schedule a complimentary consultation to see if I'm the right fit for you as an author's coach. And at the same time, I'm interviewing to see if you're a good author for me, because I value everybody's time. Okay, everybody's time. So, nevertheless, it's all on the website.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and just for being the blessing that you are behind the scenes of my first book.
Yeah.
So if you haven't gotten your copy yet, you want to purchase your copy at arielleward.com. It will bless your life. Listen, my mentor helped me with points to remember in my book, that I want you to remember when you leave tonight is to, number one, choose Christ. Choose Christ, accept him as your personal savior. Number two, learn from your mentors. That's one of my favorite, and really the theme for tonight. Learn from your mentors and live out the prayers of your trusted advisors. Remaining teachable. Remaining teachable. Knowing God's voice, and this is number three. Knowing God's voice will help you navigate through life. Point number four, don't allow childhood trauma to take over your prosperous adulthood. Point number five, stay focused on your short term and long term goals. That's in there in the conclusion page.
Page 122.
That's right, page 122. That's on page 122 in the book, and in the conclusion page, those are the five points to remember, points to ponder that my mentor, Dr. Grant, helped me to basically pulled it out of me. That's my favorite word tonight. So pull it out. And so Philippians 3:12 says, not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that which Christ Jesus took hold of me. And so, in other words, I am not perfect or have it made, but I'm well on my way, reaching after Christ as he has so wondrously reached out for me. Yep. And so, in conclusion, tonight I had some special news, or a special announcement to make about the Perfecting Me campaign, really, for my workshop classes. So tonight, the great news is I am perfecting me, and I want you to take this journey with me. I will be having those workshops, Perfecting Me workshops, in June, in the summertime coming up. So stay tuned for the link and the details that go along with signing up. And so I'll be diving deeper into each chapter in a private, safe space. And so we're going to be really, it's going to be much more transparent because we're literally discussing the text of the book.
Mhm.
And we're going to be, and you want to make sure you register. So I'll make sure I'll post the link for the classes that will be coming up. I am extremely excited about sharing that space with you, and would love to have you a part of those classes when they come available.
I'm so
Also, if you order your book, the copy of your book, you want to make sure, of course, that you have a copy of the book in order to participate in the classes that you sign up for. So you want to go to arielleward.com. Okay? All right. So again, if you are interested in writing your own story, you want to visit leadershipdevelopme.com, and you will request a consultation with Dr. Grant, which is a free 15-minute. Is that still
Mhm.
the same? Free 15-minute consultation. And she will from there lead and guide you to the next steps in the process.
And Aria, can I just share very quickly with someone who's thinking about writing a book, whether you go with
Absolutely.
LDM or someone else, two reasons you must write your book. Number one, your book is bigger than you. Just how Arielle just said, she's getting ready to start a coaching program where she's helping others now perfect herself. It is a birthing of her book. So your book can actually be a business, if you will. And not that you're just in business for
Right.
the funding part of it, but you're in the business of helping people, right? And
Right.
so I encourage you to connect with the right publisher, get you an author's coach, and write your book. Why? Because your book is bigger than you. And then here's number two. This is what we say over in the authors coaching group, is that everybody has a story, but it doesn't become legacy until you publish it.
Right.
So my question to you tonight is that if you were to pass away tonight, what would people read about you? What message have you left in the earth? And so I tell you that whatever your story is, whatever your craft is, if it's something that agrees with your profession, whatever your expertise is, put it in a book, because everybody has a story, but it doesn't become legacy until you publish it.
Boom. I know you just heard that, enjoyed that. Yes. So if there aren't any more questions, are we clear on tonight? Any questions, comments, or concerns? I know the chat is blowing up because I'm looking at my phone and I see it. I'm looking at my phone and I see all the comments that are in the chat. And so if there are, well, you want to make sure you publish your book. Amen. Arielle getting churchy on you. Get churchy. Make sure you publish your book. Don't let a day go by to share your story. We are finished tonight, and thank you for joining us. Make sure you visit arielleward.com and stay tuned for new information.